What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Reffing with the Sappers. Today we're going to have an exciting game. This was a premier level fall league game, U19 Boys, which are always exciting, some of the oldest age groups,
Very exciting, may
yeah,
I add.
but not for the reasons that you're saying. This game was between Granite Bay, who will be in the green, and the Blackhawks, who were in the gray. It was a lively day for us, and in fact, this game ended up with a straight red card in it. So let's get this game going and let's see how it went.
And the coach is a man-child.
As we get this game started, I was the center referee for this match. Katie was the assistant referee on the far side of the field, which was the Granite Bay sideline. And then I had an excellent other assistant referee on this near side, Amir, who is a regional referee. First time working with him, but he was fantastic. We'll see that as we go. So let's get going here. Our first decision happens in minute 2. We've got a throw in coming from the left side of the screen. Comes in here, bounces right up, right there, hits number 30's hand as it comes around, makes it really easy on me to get started. Call that and signal direction for a direct free kick for the gray team.
So our next decision is going to be a no offside call that ended up resulting in a goal. Let's see what happened. So right here is the moment of decision. And this player right here is the person that's going to be going to. Now you can see with the white player right here and another white player right here that it looks like he is very clearly on when the ball is kicked. When we continue to look at the play, it goes off the goalie. When a goalie saves the ball like that and they don't claim like clear possession of the play, then that means that it doesn't count as like possession of a defender. And the previous thing of when the ball was kicked still stands. So I think that this is a very good correct call. But when we hear the audio of this, we can hear the coach say,
Offside! Offside! He's standing there when they shot it! No one behind him! The goalkeeper! That's about it!
okay, so we can hear that he's completely arguing with the call. He thinks that's offside, and maybe sure from like this angle, and especially on the field when tensions are running high, especially in a U19 game, people do want to argue it, but we can see through the video that it's actually the correct call either way. So this is definitely a good decision point.
Also, interestingly enough, this Blackhawks coach, we've refed him before and had an episode, I think it was episode 16 on this channel, where we actually refereed one of their home games. He also, in that episode, had some comments that didn't make a lot of sense. In this one, it made a little bit more sense of his complaint because he sees this player standing over here and he doesn't necessarily know if this player is keeping him on, but this player back here is clearly closer to the goal line. So he's just not looking there, right? I end up going and I talk to Amir on this sideline, but as I walk up, Amir's like he was clearly onside, and I just said, "Hey, I'm just doing this for show. I'm just letting them know that we talk about it, not because I doubt your call at all. Even I could see he was onside." So anyway, one of those game management things that we do. But yeah, good goal here for Green, and we keep going. Still in the 4th minute of the game, we get to our next decision. It's up in the left-hand corner of the screen here. The screen player's attacking right here. This gray player comes in and gets shoulder to shoulder on him. It's within a microsecond of being a little bit late and being behind him, but I really felt like it was shoulder to shoulder. And even just watching it here again in real speed, I think that that's fair to call that an even challenge.
Our next decision is going to be a really, really difficult offside call that I made that resulted in the taking away of a goal. Let's see what happened. So here's the moment of decision for the entire thing. These Granite Bay players right here, these are just outside the penalty box, and this white player is going to be the one that ends up getting the ball after it deflects off the keeper. You can see that 1 foot is inside the penalty box compared to these people just outside the penalty box. 1 foot. So the ball ends up getting deflected by the keeper. He goes in, scores it, and I call offside for it. This is an example of a call of why I consider myself at least a decent referee, and why for a lot of clubs I think that I deserve every cent that I make. And it's also, refereeing is not just a thing that someone casually can do and call that like some parents might think. It actually takes a lot of skill to keep up with the play and to call those calls.
Our next decision point happens in the 15th minute. We're looking at this player here in the gray who's receiving the ball from a pass. There's going to be a defender who comes up behind him, and he's kind of got his arm out there. And I'll back it up here and play it in slow motion. He's got his arm extended, but to me, that kind of looked more like okay, I'm just feeling the distance, and I didn't see like a shove. And so you see him stumble forward, but I don't think he was actually pushed. I think he more stumbled over his feet, maybe a little bit of contact, but certainly not enough for a call. And then you can tell from his body language, he doesn't even think it's a foul. So we review this one because people from the sidelines think that kind of thing is a foul, but it really kind of in this instance, perfectly fine to let play and keep the game flowing. As the game continues here, we've got Green on a really fast breakaway up the right-hand side of the field here, and we've got two really quick decisions that happen. So Green's on this breakaway. Right there, Gray makes a really great slide tackle, starts to get it, and then Green comes back through the back of his knee in a really, really hard foul. And if I just back this up, I mean, right here, slowing that down, I just think that's a great slide tackle by Gray. Yes, Green goes down hard, but you can see he stopped the ball. So he got it, and then Green initiates the contact. That's just fantastic play by a defender. Then Green gets a little bit frustrated, and when he gets back up, he really kicks through the back of the leg of that Gray player and takes him down. Now, it's early. I felt like I could manage this with a discussion. And so you'll see me come in from the left hand side here after calling the foul. And you see me, I do this. I tell them, guys, let's take it down a notch. Let's take it down a notch. We don't need that. And so that's kind of the verbal warning. I make a mental note of his number and chose to manage it that way. So I think this is two correct decisions.
Yeah, I also agree.
Yep.
Our next decision is going to be a very little known law called impeding. Let's see. So right here you can see that the white player is purposely trying to go into the way of the green player. So when we see he's got his arm out, he's trying to he's trying to get in the way of that green player, and you're not allowed to do this until you're within playing distance of the ball. So this would be called impeding and would result in an indirect free kick.
So over 10 minutes goes by in this match until we've got our next decision. In minute 33, Gray here is getting the ball, bringing it out of their defensive half. And as he comes around here, he just gets clipped on the ankle from behind. That's it right there. Gets him. Very obvious trip. Zero question about that. Call it right away and give a direct free kick to the Gray team. Carrying on it to minute 37 in the game, we've got Gray on the attack here, and this defender is trying to get to the ball first, kind of gets in front of him, and then Gray gets a little bit frustrated, grabs him by the arm. You can kind of see there, Green's trying to get away to go get that ball, and Gray's just got his arm kind of in an arm lock, keeps him from going and getting it. So I just call that, give a direct free kick to defenders out of their defensive third. Immediately following the direct free kick from that last call, the ball is flying here in from the left-hand side. We're looking at this green player here who's going to try to go up and head it. And this gray player who's playing against him here is going to just give him a push in the back right there as the ball goes by. I immediately call that and grant another direct free kick for the green team right there. It was right in front of me. I had a good angle between them, and it was just one of those. He jumps up and just gives him a little bit extra to throw him off of it. So 5 minutes later here, we've got a really nice slide tackle. Green is trying to bring the ball up, and then right here, Gray comes through and just does a really nice tackle there. Gets all ball, then Gray initiates over his ankle. That is about as textbook of a slide tackle as you can get, and perfect angle here looking at it. So that is the correct call. Kind of about a minute later here, we've got Granite Bay still on the attack. And as this player's coming through, right there, we just have a classic all ball challenge coming back here. Right there, you see they both get the ball at exactly the same time. The ball even stops dead because of the momentum of both of them kicking it. Gray takes a big tumble, but wave that off. It's clearly not a foul, and everybody gets up and goes back to playing. So in our final call of the first half, it happens in the 44th minute. Gray is on the attack here. This Gray player here is going to be getting the ball. Right here when he goes through, he kicks it over, and as he's trying to go get it, this green player clips him on the ankle, and he takes a big tumble there. Very easy call, called it right away, no issues at all.
So just following the kick of that play, the ball ended up going out of bounds, so we call it dead.
Now, at halftime of this match, Katie and I and Amir end up, we have a normal halftime conference, talk about what's going well, what's not going well. Amir makes the comment that this coach on the Blackhawks side is, loud and boisterous on some things. And he kind of asked me, like, how much dissent do I want to tolerate? At what point do I want to go to warnings and cards and that kind of stuff? And what I told Amir is that, I think that dissent needs to be public, personal, and provocative for you to take action. Now, if they become personal, public, and provocative, I'll deal with them right away. And we'll actually see that in the second half here. But so far, he's been arguing, hey, that was offside. Hey, why wasn't that a card? But it hasn't been personal. It hasn't been ref, you suck, ref, you need to do your job. None of that has happened at this point in the game. So what I told him is I said, my threshold's fairly high. If he just wants to say, hey, I think that was a foul, and within a second or two he calms down, I'm going to let him do that for most of the game. But as soon as he makes it personal or provocative, like we're going to be dealing with that. We'll see a little bit of that play out in the second half once we get going. A little over a minute into the second half here, we've got a handball. So the ball's kind of bouncing around here, comes down, kind of rolls up this guy's body and hits his hand on the way out there. So, pretty clear touch of the hand there. One of those on the borderline, I could call that a natural position, but his hand was kind of out a little bit that I felt was unnatural. So went ahead and called it, and we keep going in the game. Here on the far side of the screen, we're going to see a battle for the ball, and it's one of those, they're battling for position. Green's got position. He kind of holds it for a second there, and then Gray just fights through it a little bit too much, gives it just a little bit extra there, sends Green down. Can't go through their back like that, so pretty easy call to make. A short time later, Gray has the ball. They kick it from the far end of the field, and there's kind of this breakaway where there's two Green defenders here and this Gray player trying to go for it. And we're going to see another impeding. We're going to see that he runs directly into the path. He's not trying to chase down the ball. He's actually intentionally trying to get in the way of this player. So watch that. And there, yep, he impedes him. Now, after I call it, he turns around and he's like, what? And I'm like, guys, that's exactly what happened in the first half. Like I called it on the other team when they did it to you. I'm going to call it on you when you do it to them all the time. So up next here, we're going to see Green kind of battling for this ball. And then right here, as he clears out that ball, the Gray player kind of comes through behind him. And see there, the ball's away. And when Gray drags his foot through, he pulls Green's foot out from under him. So it goes down. So I end up calling that. I do notice that he doesn't seem to show any concern for the fact that he had done that. So I start to register that maybe the temperature's going up a little bit in the match. But at the end of the day, it was a clear trip. Clearly called it. It's the right call. And we keep going.
Our next call is going to be an offside decision. So right here is the moment of decision, but we can't currently see the player on the field that actually is in an offside position. But when we continue to watch the video, we see the Green player just running up from inside the penalty box. So I think it's like pretty clear that he was inside the penalty box and got the ball. I immediately pop up my flag, and I think that's the right decision.
100%. A few minutes later, we have a handball that I know called on the pitch. Let's watch it here. So Green's got the ball, he kicks it up, hits this Gray player's hand, then Gray gets possession of it. You can actually see if I scroll over here, you can see I started to whistle and then I pulled the whistle down. I think what was really going through my mind at the moment was I was trying to decide, was this just a natural position of his arm as part of his running motion or not? And I ultimately decided that it was just a natural, his arm swinging, but kind of looking at it here on video, I think there's a little bit more of a, he moved his hand into the path of the ball in addition to it swaying. So I think that probably should have been called, especially since Gray immediately got possession of it afterwards and ended up with a promising attack after that. So we're going to take a deduction for that one. Moving on in the game, Gray's got a corner kick here, and it's a really nice crossover. But we're going to be looking at these two players down here, and the Gray team, at least coach, thinks that there was a push in the back. And ultimately, he ends up getting a yellow card for dissent on this when we no call it. So let's watch here. We got the cross coming over, and then right there, there is some contact. If I play this again, Green does kind of come in there, and he touches him with both arms. But if you watch even the body language of this Gray player, he's not acting like he was fouled. But like it's a PK in a 1-0 game, that's a major decision, right? So that's really, for me, that's very light to consider calling in the box. It'd be even light out in the middle of the field, and you'd only be calling it for game control.
I would never call this out on the field. That, with that level of like pressure on it, there is barely any of his play actually affected by the shove.
Yeah.
I would not even call this at the center of the field,
Yeah, and
let alone in the penalty box. No, especially because this is a U19 game. I would not call this for a U19.
and you see that he ends up, he ends up running just like it was nothing. So let's end up listening to the aftermath here because this coach is pretty upset. And remember, this is the same coach who, in like episode 16, he had a lot of loud comments. He's had other comments in this match, and at halftime we had talked about, at what point do we go with dissent for him? So
Hey, linesman! Come on! That's a two-hand shove in the back! See now, you missed that one.
So you see there, he's yelling very loudly. He's directing it directly at my linesman, though I don't know why he's saying it to him and not me. Maybe he thought the linesman would have had a better angle on it than I did. That's possible. But he makes it personal there by saying, I don't know how you missed that, and directing it at him. So now he's crossed that threshold of he's not just saying, hey, where's the call? He's now made it personal about our job performance and whatnot. So, I feel like I got to deal with that. So I come over and I tell him, Coach, your behavior is irresponsible. And he kind of says something like, well, you're basically going to make us lose anyway. And I kind of looked at him and was like, Coach, that's starting to get a little bit more personal too. I just gave you one. Don't earn the second one right away. I also want to give a little bit of credit here to my assistant referee. He was fantastic. You notice that he will come running up here when I go to talk to this coach. So if you're an assistant referee and you're watching this, always, if there's going to be a discussion like this with a coach or somebody on the sideline, come up so that you can hear what's said. So there's multiple witnesses from the referee crew. Fantastic work by him. We're going to end up scoring this as 2 decisions. The first is a correct no call in the box there, and then a correct decision here for the yellow card. Short time later, we've got a breakaway coming up from the right side of our screen to the left here. The ball's kind of bouncing. Gray is running after it, but this green player kind of out hustles him. And on his way by, it looks like this gray player realizes that he got beat, and he reaches out and kind of grabs him. And then they kind of go down together. At least the gray player ends up going down, but it kind of looks like he grabbed him on the way by. I think at the time on the field, I thought they kind of fouled each other, that there might have been some mutual grabbing, so I didn't call it either way. Looking at it here in the video, it kind of looks more like that whole interaction started by Gray actually reaching out and grabbing Green once he realizes he's about to get beat, and then everything that happens after that is a follow up to that. So okay, so we're going to score that one as a deduction. About 4 minutes go by before we have our next decision, but it is a doozy of one. It's a straight red card, really, for what should be violent conduct. So let's watch here. This green player here has possession of the ball, and he's about to take off with it here. He's going to dribble out, and then he gets bumped right here, and he clearly gets frustrated, and he comes back and he kicks at that player's ankle. So if we go back and watch this, he clearly eyes this, right there. He turns, instead of trying to chase the ball, he comes back, sees this player, and intentionally kicks his foot out into the side of the ankle of this player to send him down. Now, this player ends up getting up. They're about to have some words. Kudos to his team.
He's not going to have some words. He's going to have some fists. I don't know what you're talking about with those.
Going to catch some hands. But then his teammate luckily comes in here, grabs him right away. I want to come back here and show you at full screen. I want you to watch my AR. Again, he's been excellent all game. You'll notice that this is kind of the moment that the foul happened. The player hasn't even started to fall yet. Now he falls and immediately, like he's no more than gotten up. Amir is over here. He's already sprinting in to help break that up. He sees what's going to happen. You see me, I'm already reaching into my back pocket where the red card is. So I'm trying to get my card out of my pocket. Now I'm coming in, I'm having trouble. These were actually a new pair of shorts, so the Velcro was sticking, so I couldn't get the card out. So I'm trying to pull it out. I look at Amir and I say, Amir, I've got a red card for that. What do you say? And he said, yep, I agree. So finally, at long last, after having tried to pull it out for the last few seconds, I finally get the red card out. I give it to him. Now you can see he looks all shocked, like, why is that a red card?
You know, the funniest part was when he was coming back to his bench, he was like, I just stuck my foot out. I don't see how that should be a red card. Also, with how the AR was like coming in to break up the fight, I will not. I won't.
Yeah.
No, those U19 boys, they're like 150 pounds, 160. I am not made to break up that fight. I will get injured in the process. Once it is cleared to come in, I will come in.
Yeah. They start actually throwing fists. Like even somebody like me, I need to get out of that. I need to, and just start taking notes, right? But if it were to come to a mass
I
confrontation,
would not.
like okay. Now,
I'm not. I'm just not.
and how he's trying to argue that he just stuck at his foot. If we go back and we watch this, like there, I mean, he eyes that player down and
Okay,
pulls that out. I mean, that is a red card every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
there is no way that that is a yellow card.
And then when you watch him here, like, okay, yes, this great player gets up and starts to bow up to him, but this number 13 also eyes him down. I mean, here, luckily, cooler heads prevailed and his teammate got him out of the way there. But in all honesty, U19 boys, if I don't red card that, like this game becomes a much different game. Like we really run the risk of players trying to hurt each other later in the match. Like the risk of confrontations or even mass confrontations go way up if I don't red card that because otherwise they're just going to be out for blood. So let's go forward a little bit here and let's listen to some audio because we'll hear actually the green team. They were sitting on the far side and we can actually hear their coach from all that distance away. So let's listen here. You hear them say, hey, how is that a red? And then I'm here, I'm dealing with this because these players start to get in there. The great player, starts to put the ball down. There's no reason he needs to be there. Luckily, his teammates come in, back him up, and there's a risk of some confrontation here, but we're right in the middle of it. This kind of goes on for several seconds here. Ultimately, big guy comes in there, gets everybody to back away. Green finally backs away. Player leaves like he should. I'm explaining it to the captain there what happened. Captain's trying to argue that's not a red card, but obviously it is. We get some more noise from the sideline. The coach over there asked for an explanation, so I end up going over and talking to him. He said, well, how is that a red and not a yellow? And I said, coach, it's violent conduct. Like he didn't even try to play the ball and he struck an opponent. So ultimately, out of this, we're going to have 3 decisions per the rules of the channel. The first is for the foul, which is obvious. Second is it a card? Also obvious. And the third is it yellow or red? And so in this case, I think it's 100% the right decision. That's a red card. So after the red card, about 6 minutes go by before we have our next decision. And then we've got one here that looks kind of dramatic, but on the field, I didn't think it was nearly as bad as it looks. So let's watch it here. Right here, Green's got possession, and then he trips over there, and he gets pushed a little bit from the back. But if I back it up here, right there, he does get pushed from behind, but this great player who's coming in front really just tries to play the ball, and the player behind him pushes, and so he kind of trips over the leg of that great player in combination with the push that made it look bad. I obviously called the foul, grant direction. Now, this player, as I'm walking up, I did not think that was card worthy on the gray team. Maybe it could go either way, but I decided not to card it there. But when he gets up, he basically asked me straight to my face, do you have any idea what you're even doing? And so Like, you can't do that to the ref. Like, it's totally disrespectful. So he gets a yellow card. So this is one of those rare instances where a team actually is awarded the foul and gets the direct free kick there, but their player actually gets yellow carded, and it's all because one of those cheap yellow cards that he earns for talking back. Here we're going to see a pretty straightforward pull. It's a little bit difficult to see on the screen, but right there as Gray's coming through, this green player comes in behind him, grabs him by the arm, and kind of keeps him from advancing forward. So pretty straightforward on that one. And I call it and grant the direct free kick for Gray there at near the center circle. Getting into the final 10 minutes of the game, we've got another foul here that's actually away from the ball, and I end up granting a yellow card for it because I think it's unsporting. So we're looking at this gray player here and the green player here. So the ball is completely away, and then this green player, like from right here, he really should just go back to playing defense. Instead, he lowers his shoulder and sends his shoulder into the back pretty hard, enough that it throws this guy, off his balance into the back of that gray player. I felt that was very unsporting. That's the kind of stuff that just escalates things. So I call that and I come over and I immediately grant him a yellow card there for that unsporting conduct. So, this is one of those where it's just escalating. Temperatures are going up. I don't know why they're lashing out like that, but definitely the right calls. No more than a few seconds after the restart, after that last foul, we've got another one here. The ball's coming in from the left hand side of the screen. It's coming up to this gray player here. This green player is going to come through behind him, and you're going to see he goes really right through his back, and he even like lowers his shoulder to hit him. I didn't call that because really I was standing here and I was looking directly through them. So I couldn't see the angle that this camera has. Instead, I thought it was more of just a shoulder bump. But looking at it here, I mean, in all honesty, one, I definitely should have called it. And two, we're kind of on the fence of should I have yellow carded that as well, given the hard nature of the hit. Katie, what do you think on that one?
I think that should definitely be a yellow card, especially with like the level of heat that this game is getting to, especially with the other red card. So I think just for like game management, it should be a yellow card on top of a foul as well. So I think that we're going to be taking two deductions here.
A few minutes later, we've got a charge here committed by the green team. Gray here has the ball. He's going to kick and clear the ball up the field. And just as he goes off the screen here, Green gives him a little extra that sends him flying. Now, this is also one of those where we've seen on the channel many times where a player is trying to send the ball up the field. They whip their body around to send their momentum into the ball and they fall, which he probably would have fallen anyway here. But what really gets the green player here is this arm extension after. So there's really no reason he need to do that. End up calling that.
Our next decision is going to be a no call on the field. So, in my professional opinion, I think that white right there is trying to call a foul and was not actually fouled. He fell very dramatically, and when he also fell, he went like that. And then I was like, bro, get up. And then he was like, ref, you don't see that? You don't see that. It was right in front of you. And I was like, with that sound effect, you are not going to get a call. Even if you were fouled, you are clearly trying to like oversell it. And that sound effect you just made is not helping your case. I'm not going to call that. No way will I ever call that for you, especially with that sound effect. You don't know. No.
And what I saw there was that they got the ball cleanly, and then maybe there was some contact after it was out of bounds, but it just wasn't enough for me to go ahead and grant a kick there. So I think it's a good no call, and by both Katie and I, and kind of a funny story with the boys there.
So just a few moments later, Gray ends up scoring a winning goal. And this is, by the way, an added time, which we added, I think, 4 minutes of. So when we play the goal,
And we've got it in panoramic mode here so that we can see what happens here.
yeah. So when we play the goal, The goal happens, and then the player right here starts going and like shouting at the sideline where I'm at. And by the way, he was the one that went "Ooh!" when he got fouled like a minute earlier, which by the way, still not gonna call. I still think I made the right decision there. And then he goes, ah! So he goes like that, and like I'm near like the sideline over there, and then the coach was like, "Oh, you're not gonna stop that. You're not gonna say anything." And then the coach was like, "Referee, get over here!" And then it was like, "The kid is taunting us," and I'm like, "Bruh."
So I don't end up seeing any of that.
Bro is deaf.
It all happens behind me, and somebody jumping up and down to cheer, there's people cheering all over the place, right? So I wouldn't see that. I'm looking down to make sure that there's no confrontations inside the goal, as people separate from there. I end up looking back over here, and the coaches, as they're resetting, the coaches say, "Hey, they were taunting us. They were taunting us." And I was like, "Coach, I didn't hear anything." And he said, "Well, she heard it." I look at Katie, and she gives me a signal. And so I go and I talk to her. She says, "Yep, yep, that number, I think it was number 4 on Gray. Sure enough, he came over. He was jumping up and down. He was taunting the sideline. If I flash forward here, I run over and I end up pulling out a yellow card and I give that to that player for taunting. Now, it was interesting. That player, he actually apologized to me when I came over. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I know, I'm sorry." And then, in fact, after the game, when we're kind of, shaking hands or bumping fists in the middle, he actually comes back up to me and he says, "Don't worry, ref. I'll explain what the yellow card was to my coach. I totally deserved it." So
Probably.
we'll end up scoring that as a decision for the yellow card. And also, this was the second goal for Gray that put Gray up 2-1 in this match in extra time. Okay, we're in the waning moments of extra time here, and Green is on the attack, and we've got a call that I missed. So let's watch here. Green comes through, and right there, Gray steps through and really gets him on his ankle. What I ended up seeing, we'll pause right at the moment. Right there, this Gray player steps in, gets him on his left leg, which is the far side leg. I was watching there and I thought I had a reasonably good angle looking between them. And what I was really looking for is, did the Gray player hit the Green player's right leg as he was running? And I saw that he missed that. What I missed was that he got him on the left ankle. So I honestly thought that he had just lost his step, but in looking at it here, that really should have clearly been a call for a trip. I totally missed that one. That might just be the end of a long day with lots of running on the pitch, but yeah, that's a missed call for us.
And with that, that concludes our game. So with 5 deductions and 38 decisions, that gives us a SAPR score of 86.8. So overall, this was a pretty good game for us.
There was a few there, particularly 2 deductions on 1 decision for that charge. You obviously saw that the temperature went up in the match as things went on. Had that straight red card for violent conduct, which is really our first one of those on the channel. Games that can get out of hand really quickly. I kind of felt like we called the most of the fouls that we needed to call, missed a couple there towards the end. I felt like that wasn't really the reason that the game escalated the way that it did. I think the boys were just kind of out for each other. So ultimately felt reasonable about this game. It was a good game score. Could have done better, some things that we can learn, but enjoyed doing it.
So I'm Katie.
And I'm Scott.
And we'll see you out on the pitch.
Look at your toneness. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, definition. It's getting there.
So now you get to see my shoulders. All the guys are gonna be going crazy.
Well, since you're
They're
not
gonna be getting thirsty.
since you're not allowed to date till you're 35, it'll be fine.
Oh yeah. In a speech and debate tournament last week, I went undefeated in my debate tournament.
First tournament ever.
First tournament. So
4-0. Let's go. Up high.
really proud about that.
That's pretty boss.
This is why Granite Bay pays me so much.
In fairness,
His
you're
inside foot.
you-
Inside foot is inside the box.
this is why refereeing is a skill.
This is dope. This is one of my proudest moments. That man has 1 foot inside. 1.
Yeah.
Woo! Oh, it's giving me shivers.
Okay.
Shivering tempers. You know what we should name this?
What?
Katie's ego gets inflated again.
Maybe.
Granite Bay's my type.
I don't think so. Because they're not 35.
Did you just say they're not 35?
Yes.
You realize how bad that sounds?
We're going to edit that out. We're going to edit that out. I misspoke.
35-year-olds are not my type, guys.
I
They're not.
misspoke. I
They're
misspoke.
not.
I misspoke. I take it back. I take it
They're
back.
not.
I
They're
take it
not.
back.
In his defense, Dad, he's pretty cute.
Is that a difference?
Should be. What? He's arguing for that?
Yes.
For that. Absolutely not.
Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, I'm going to call that.
Why is it twice on Sunday? I swear I'm not this mean in real life. I swear.